Hey guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. So, one of the number one questions that I get is, how did I get my first job? So, I already did another video about this, but I didn't go into too much detail. I just kind of like broad stroke the whole story. So, I'm going to talk about it today. So, what happened was I was unemployed. And I had gone to my local workforce office to try to find a job, and they had offered programs for like retraining, so I ended up getting involved with coding that way. So when I was in school, I was working a couple of jobs. I mean, I worked at a concession stand, I did bartending, and I worked at a halfway house. And so I did a lot. I worked and I was going to school at the same time. And when I got done and I was looking for work, like the reality kind of sets in of, well, you don't have any experience. And I know that is a common problem that everybody goes through as a coder is, well, you don't have experience. Yeah, you're certified, but you don't have experience. But how are you supposed to get experience if no one will hire you? So I had been applying for a couple months, and I was trying anywhere to get in. I just wanted to be a medical coder. I was trying so hard anywhere I could get into. And everybody just kept telling me no, kept telling me no, kept telling me no. And I was getting really, really discouraged. And I was very fortunate because I had a very good support system, which was my mom. And she kept pushing me, and she was encouraging me, you've got this, you'll get in somewhere, somebody will take a chance on you. And so I kept working, and I'm like, I can't keep working these jobs, because it was, those kind of jobs are very physically demanding, and I was just tired. I just didn't want to work so hard. I wanted to do what I was trained to do. So my mom had suggested that I go back to the school that I was being trained at and ask them for help. Well, the guy there, the principal of the school, he was like, well, I have a friend that has a temporary agency that specializes in just medical. So they hire nurses, they hire medical coders, they hire doctors on a temporary basis to fill in anywhere that they're needed. And he said, why don't you go and talk to her? And I was very resistant at first. I was like, I don't want to work a temporary job. I really want a job. I want a job anywhere. And he's like, well, I get it. And he's like, but when you work a temporary job, they'll put you anywhere. And so basically all of the jobs that you get put on are, more filler for your application or for your resume. So I was like, well, that makes sense, So I had gone there, and, all these places that I had been, they always give you a test to test your knowledge and see, where you're at. So I said, well, I'm just going to just apply here and see what happens. So I did, and of course I passed their test, and they said, well, we'll call you in about a week. Well, of course, I had been hearing this, and I was like, okay, well, it's just another week that I have to wait for something. So they had called me back, and they said, we have a temporary assignment at a cancer center. They need people for 3 months, and then they're going to decide who they want to keep. So, we would like to send you as somebody for this assignment. So I was like, okay. So I went, and I was just so excited. I was like, finally I could stop working at the concession stand. And I was like, I was just so ready to start at that point. So I went, and I worked at the cancer center, and it was, I mean, they knew that we were fresh out of school, and they didn't mind it. And they were like, well, they kind of showed us the way, but not too much. And so we had our books, and we worked with our books. We didn't have an encoder. And so, I had worked there for the 3 months. And then when it came time for them to pick, they only picked one of us. And it was another lady that got picked, and no hard feelings, whatever. So it wasn't about technical ability. I'm not really quite sure why, but it wasn't about technical ability. So I didn't take it personally about like I didn't get picked because my skills weren't up to par. My skills were to par, and they made their choice. So I went back to the temp agency, and they said, well, we don't have anything available right now, but if you want to, we do have another position for a coder, but it is out of town, and you would have to move on your own dime, but you would have a job. And it was paying quite a bit more than what I was making at the cancer center. So I was like, well, no, I can't go because, at the time my mother was sick at the time. And I had, talked to my mom, and she said, oh, no, you're going, and I said, no, I'm not going. She's like, no, you're going because you can't get experience here. And since no one will hire you right now with having no experience, and you have a job if you go up there. So she said, just go, and you can fly back home, and you can see me whenever you want to. And I was very reluctant. I did not want to leave my mom because, my mom and I were very close. And I hope I can get through this story without. So she encouraged me to go, and, really this was like my first time away from my mom. And, I had went from my mom's house to my husband's house, and then back to my mom's house when, I gotten divorced. And so I was used to having my mom, and I was used to having my family around, and she's like, no, you need to go. And I know you're moving a few hours away. It was about 8 hours away I was moving away to. And she's like, you need to go, and you need to do this. So I was essentially moving and not knowing anybody there, and I had to work, and I had to survive and do what I had to do, which was get this job and start working. So, and she, my mom knew that I wanted to do this, and she encouraged me all the way. And when you have somebody that will encourage you and be there for you and root for you, that's what gets you through those hard times in the beginning when you're starting out as a medical coder, because it does get discouraging. And even still today, I've been in this field for over 10 years, and it still does get me, because I remember that feeling. I remember feeling like, am I ever going to get this? Am I ever going to start working? I've worked so hard to get it. And so I had gone, and I had moved to this new place and not knowing anybody. And I, was just trying my best. I was just doing the best I could to just learn everything that I could and try to adapt. And I flew home. I flew home almost every weekend because I was making really, really good money. And it was just easy to just fly back and forth, and I was home in like an hour, and I could see my mom, and that she was doing good and everything. And my mom was really proud of me that I was doing this. And this was like I said, this was the first time I had moved away and lived on my own. Like I said, I went from my mom's house to my husband's house, and then back to my mom's house. So I was living on my own, and I was working things out, and it was going really good. And I just really wanted to get back home. That was my main thing, was my mom was doing better at the time, but I still wanted to just be at home. I missed my home. I missed my hometown. So I had saw there was an ad for another position at another hospital, but it was a couple hours away from home. So I was like, well, that's great, because I can just jump in a car, and I can be closer, and no big deal. So the first time I had applied, and I had got the interview, and so I'm like, okay, here's all these nervous feelings again. This what is going to happen now? So I had to do a test with them on the phone. It wasn't like where I could sit there and fill it out. I literally had to do the quiz in front of them. So I did this phone interview, and they had asked me, and everything went really well on this phone interview. I was just like, okay, everything is going good, and everything sounds promising. And they said, well, how soon, if you got picked, when could you start? I was like, 2 weeks to the day that I get the call. And so they said, okay, we'll be in touch. So not knowing anybody there at that hospital, I knew nobody at that hospital, and I was just like kind of sitting and waiting, and about a month passed, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, I didn't get it. I was like, they didn't want me. And I called my mom, and I was just like, Mom, they didn't want me. And she says, no, it's not your time yet. It's not your time yet. Just wait. And so I said, okay, I'll wait, and so a couple months went by, and the same hospital posted another position again. And this time, it was for another position, but it was a better position. So I was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to apply anyway. I mean, the worst they could do is just pass over my resume and not call me. And, it'll just be like all the other times that I didn't get the call, or it'll be all the other times that I was disappointed because I didn't get something. And so I'll just apply. I mean, there's nothing that they can say other than no. And so I had applied again, and this time it was a couple of days later that I had gotten an offer. And I was just so elated because I had literally been at my position at the time. I had been there for about 8 months. And this was just like a culmination of just being so determined and so willful to do these things, and just not taking no for an answer. And it takes a lot, and a lot of times it's really easy to get discouraged. I mean, it really is. And it's like, why do they even have these programs if they make it so hard to get in? But it's kind of like people who go on go-sees for acting or modeling jobs, and they have to keep going and keep going and keep going until somebody says yes. It's sort of the same thing, because you have to keep going no matter how many times you get told no, and no matter how many times people say you can't do this. You can, because there was people when I was applying for this second job that were saying you'll never get it because people like you don't get those jobs. And what they meant was people with only the credential that I had, which is a CCA, Certified Coding Associate through AHIMA. And, they were like, they'll never hire you. And I said, well, I'm just going to go ahead and do it anyway. Because remember, my whole goal was to get back home. And that was the closest I could get to being close to home. And because nobody in my hometown would hire me either, because I didn't have enough experience at the time. But they just kept telling me to, just get experience, and, we'll get you in. And so I had gotten the offer, and I was so excited, and I called my mom right away. She was my first call. And she was like, congratulations, you're coming home. So or close enough, And I put in my notice, and I said I was leaving, and exactly the 2 weeks that I had gotten the call, I said I was going to my new job. And I was sad to leave the people that I had met, and new friends that I had made, and I'm still lifelong friends with them. And, it was hard because I was going to miss them. But at the same time, I just wanted to be closer to home. So my mom came up, and she helped me move from where I was to where I am now. And, everything that I owned filled up one of those Savannah vans, the 1500, the Chevy 1500s. And it just a cargo van, basically. It was all I had. That was all the belongings that I had. It filled up a cargo van. And I moved to where I currently am. And, I set up a home, you know, I started working right away. And, you know, it was nice because, you know, my mom could see all that. And she was so proud. And she said, you know, I knew that you could do it. And that's, you know, really awesome when you have that. When you have that kind of support. That was what kept me from just stopping and saying, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep getting rejected all the time. That support right there is what made me as successful as I am now. So I got here in May, and it was a few months later that my mom passed away, which is why it still upsets me, you know. But you know, she got to see me, you know, have a good job and start working and do something that I love. And she knew that I was going to be able to support myself and take really good care of myself, because for somebody that doesn't have a college degree, I'm doing pretty good. So that's how I look at it too. And you know, I didn't mean to blubber on this video, but whenever I talk about my mom and how important it was that to have somebody that supports you, it's really touching. And I don't care if I get comments or not. You know, that is the biggest part of it in the beginning, is if you have a really good support system, and if you really do believe in yourself, you'll get there, and you'll have the job, and you'll start working, and you'll have that position that you've always wanted. You know, I know that I still have a long way to go, because, you know, I still need to go back to school and get my education, as far as like getting a degree, an actual degree in medical and medical coding, you know, whether it's a RHIT, which is or RHIA. So you know, it's just one of those things. But right now, at this moment in where I am in my life, I am okay with where I am. But that does not stop me from still looking into getting my next certifications, because it's always important. Like I've said in another video that I did, it's I've slowed down so much on my speed as far as looking through the book and looking up codes. You know, I've gotten so spoiled with the encoder, you know, and I really do have to start working on my speed again, start practicing my speed. But, you know, that was how I did it. It was just a combination of just perseverance and just, and I know there's a lot of people that have gone through this longer than I did. And I mean, I guess, you know, I had to move. I mean, it wasn't like, I'm not suggesting that you move, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that that was just something that I did. I did it because I had to. And, you know, I had my mom to push me to say, you can do this, because I don't know if I would have, if it was just me on my own, to say, I don't know if I can. But I literally picked up and moved to a city that I knew no one, you know. And then the second time when I did it again, I still knew no one. But, you know, I had spent time around in this area, so I was familiar with the area, but I still knew no one. And that's how I did it. So I just want to encourage anybody that's watching this, if you are in that same position that I was in, where everybody keeps telling you no, and you're just trying anything and everything, just apply with a temp agency that is specifically geared towards medical. They have those in some of the major cities. You can also try to get a job as a biller. You know, billers don't have to be certified a lot of times. And, you know, that may be just a way to kind of get some experience. Medical records is another avenue to go down, although some people get caught in medical records where they just end up kind of staying. And I've known a few ladies that said that they couldn't get a job as a coder, so they just kind of stayed in medical records, and that's not really what they wanted. But, you know, I know everybody has bills, and everybody, you know, has to pay the rent and pay their car payment, and it's really hard. But I mean, I was literally making minimum wage. Literally was making minimum wage, and I was working constantly. I worked 7 days a week when I was looking for work, and that is very hard. It's a very hard life, and not having that downtime, you know. So I don't take it for granted now that I have weekends off, or I can just take a vacation. I don't take that for granted. I'm very grateful, and you know, just don't give up. I hate to hear of people just giving up, and I know it's hard. I know it is, but all I can just tell you is don't give up. Just try, and just keep trying, and don't let anybody tell you no. That's the biggest thing right there, is don't let anybody tell you no. If there are people that can be actors and actresses that don't look like your typical perfect, you know, person, and they have a successful career, think about that. You know, they had the odds stacked against them. Same thing with medical coders. We have the odds stacked against us. And people can say that same thing just because I have only one credential right now. But, you know, as many people as I've talked to, and it is all about networking too. As many people that know me, as many situations that I've been in where I can have another job if I wanted it, and I only have my CCA. So don't ever let anybody tell you that just because you have one credential, or you have a particular credential, that you can't get anything, because yes, you can. Now, I can't run a hospital, obviously, because I have no degree. You need a degree for that. But there is always a need for certified medical coders that are good at what they do. So all I can just tell you is just keep trying, and you'll get there. You will get there. If I can get there, you can get there. But just be willing to try anything. Be willing to just kind of go down the way that you wouldn't think of, you know. Like I would have never thought to move. I would have never thought that was in the cards for me, but it was. And so, you know, and the people that are encouraging you, keep them close, and just keep trying. That's all I can tell you, is to keep trying. So I wish everybody luck that is going through this right now, and just think, if I can do it, you can do it. So that was my very raw moment for today. I have some other videos planned, but it's getting late, and I have some errands I have to run. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And if you like this, like and subscribe. I promise it won't always be this tearful. This is the only time I've gotten tearful. And oh well. So I hope y'all have a great evening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.